Welcome, scholars of Sault Ste. Marie and surrounding area to the Ermatinger-Clergue National Historic Site. This is going to be the 2020 version of our annual Fall Rendezvous. This year, because of the COVID crisis, we are doing it slightly different. So we're going to try and deliver to you the experience you would have here during the rendezvous. And because you probably won't have the opportunity to ask as many questions of the reenactors as you'd normally like, we're just going to take a couple of minutes to give a kind of a preamble so you get a better vision of who all these people were that you'll be seeing, what were they doing here, and also the timeline, when were they here. So we're going to be showing you Métis, we're going to be showing you Jesuit missionaries, British soldiers, Coureur de Bois. We have 8 stations. Hopefully we'll have a good, clear video of each one. And so just to explain very briefly who these are and what their significance was to this trading post here on Sault Ste. Marie is what I'm going to do in that next couple of minutes. So just the setting, background, pre-European contact. This was Bawating, not Sault Ste. Marie. This was the traditional homeland of the indigenous Anishinaabe people, and some of their groupings around here locally were Ojibwe. Ojibwe people lived all the way around Lake Superior. To our south, the Potawatomi, who lived all the way around Lake Michigan. And then to our east, we had the Odawas, who lived all the way around Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. The Odawas were basically very related to all the other Anishinaabe. Same language, same culture. They traded amongst each other, many relatives amongst each other. So it was a pretty, although it was a widespread, sparse population, they were still pretty tightly knit, well-connected community. Then the Europeans came. So the first actual contact is not known for sure. We gather around 1612. There were probably the odd missionary, explorer, trader going through the area. So at this point, the indigenous people of the area would have known there was some strange people heading our way. The first documented contact was in 1622 when Etienne Brulé, who was actually on a 4-year mission to explore all the Great Lakes and then rendezvous with Champlain for the purposes of basically claiming this area for New France. Whether the people who were living here understood that or not, I don't really have any research on that. But from there on in, there was pretty regular presence. We have one reenactor who's going to be demonstrating the Jesuit missionaries who came a lot. 1659 to 1660, we had Edison and Grossier doing trading missions in the area. So that's what really got the attention of people in New France about the amount of wealth that was available here. So in 1667, French Jesuit missionary Allouet came here to chart the place, made a map, and in 1671, almost immediately, Friar Marquette came here to create the famous missionary right here, which is now St. Ignace. So 1679 is the time that we really opened up for trade. Duluth got a license to essentially trade exclusively in this area, and he brought in Coureur de Bois, who were essentially French sons who were raised in indigenous communities so that they would better understand the language and customs of the people. And they were basically everywhere. We have Coureur de Bois who can do a reenactment of what their trading was like. In order to keep control over all this is 1715, the French decided to build a fort here, Fort Michilimackinac. And this is the one on the mainland, not the one we know today on the island. Now, between 1754 and 1763, there was a war between British colonists and their allies and New France and their allies. This was part of the 7-Year War, sometimes called the French and Indian War, because in North America it actually lasted 9 years. And at the end of that war, the French had lost and were required to give New France to England. Now, England originally had the 13 colonies on the coast here. Now, all of a sudden, they had all this area south of Rupert's Land, all the way out to the Louisiana Purchase, all the way down here. So this area became known as Northwest Territories. Not our Northwest Territories, but at that time it was called the Northwest Territories. And so you'll see trading, you'll see the Métis community, which basically descended from the basically French fathers, indigenous mothers, who weren't really considered indigenous by law or custom, but had no other community. They basically created their own community and their own culture, and today we recognize them as a distinct indigenous population. So things were going okay, but then the American War of Independence broke out. And what happened then is this area that we call the Northwest, former New France, is no longer under British control. And the significance of that is that the British governors during the period between the 7-Year War and the American Revolution had made it known that this area west of the Alleghenies, north of the Ohio River, they had no interest in colonizing or populating it. That was to remain sovereign indigenous territory and would be left, except for exclusive trading rights with the British, would be left alone. So that was now gone, causing a lot of friction as now American colonists move inexorably west. They kept moving and moving and moving, which caused friction, with particularly when the indigenous people tried to fight back, and also when the Americans accused the English in Canada of providing the indigenous people with weapons and inciting them to violence. So that is the powder keg that's immediately prior to the War of 1812, and we'll discuss what happened then in the next section. Thank you.